You wanted my help? Here is exactly what...
Police! Public lawyer! Public door!
Ma'am, we received a call from your mother. She's concerned about your mental state.
Not one person clapped for me.
I always thought being invisible was the worst thing a family could do to you, but I was wrong. The worst thing is when they finally see you, and only because they need your wallet. The cops were at my door. 2 of them, badges glinting under my porch light, hands resting on their belts like they expected trouble. My heart hammered so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Ma'am, we received a call from your mother," the taller one said, his voice flat and official. "She's concerned about your mental state. Says you've been making threats and may have stolen family property." I stood there in my pajamas, barefoot on the cold tile, staring at these strangers who thought I was dangerous. 3 days ago, I walked across a stage in front of 200 people. Not one person clapped for me. Not one. My parents didn't show. My sister didn't show. I wore my cap and gown and smiled for a selfie because that's all I had. And now, my mother was sicking the police on me because I wouldn't fund her golden child's birthday party. The shorter officer was watching me carefully. "Ma'am, did you send your mother a threatening message?" Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened my messages. "I sent her $1, I said quietly, with a note that said congratulations. That's it. The taller cop's eyebrows went up. $1. She asked for 21,000. My voice cracked. For my sister's sweet 16 party. She texted me 3 days after skipping my college graduation. So yeah, I sent her $1. The officers exchanged a look I couldn't read. The shorter one cleared his throat. "And the family property? I changed my locks," I said. "On my apartment. That I pay for. Alone." That's when the taller officer's jaw tightened. He looked down at his notepad, then back at me. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "did you threaten your mother?" Graduation day started like a fairy tale. I woke up at 5 in the morning, too excited to sleep. My cap and gown hung on the back of my door, navy blue and perfect. I'd worked 3 jobs to get to this moment, waitressing, tutoring, weekend retail. For years of ramen noodles and secondhand textbooks. For years of watching my parents send my little sister Quincy to cheer camp and dance competitions while I took out loans. But today was mine. I texted my mom at 6. "Can't wait to see you guys. Ceremony starts at 2. I have 4 tickets that we'll call." 3 little dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. I told myself she was busy. Making breakfast. Getting ready. Being a mom. By noon, I'd called 5 times. By 1, I was sitting in my car outside the auditorium, makeup running, telling myself they were just running late. Traffic. Car trouble. Something reasonable. The ceremony started at 2:15. I walked in alone, found my spot in the alphabetical lineup, and watched families hug their graduates around me. Flowers. Balloons. Tears of joy. My phone stayed silent. When they called my name, Bridget Winters, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, magna cum laude, I walked across that stage to complete silence. The family section where my people should have been sitting was empty. For seats. All vacant. I heard a dad in the crowd whisper to his wife, "Poor kid." Nobody came. I smiled anyway. Took my diploma. Waved to nobody. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe. I promise you, it gets wilder from here. The drive home was a blur of tears and angry music. I threw my cap in the passenger seat and screamed until my voice gave out. When I finally pulled into my apartment complex at 6 p.m., I checked my phone one last time. Still nothing. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a "sorry we missed it." I was crying in my bathtub, still wearing my gown, when my phone finally lit up 3 days later. Mom's name flashed across the screen. The message didn't say, "Congratulations." It didn't say sorry. It said, "Bridget, We need $21,000 by Friday. Quincy's Sweet 16 is at the Riverside Estate, and we're short. Your father's bonus didn't come through. You're working now, so you can help family. This is important. I read it 5 times. Each time, I felt something cold and sharp settle deeper into my chest. $21,000. For a party. For my 19-year-old sister who'd never worked a day in her life. From parents who couldn't be bothered to sit in a chair and clap for me. My hands were shaking. Memories came flooding back like a broken dam. 8th grade, when I asked for $20 for a school trip and Mom said we couldn't afford it. That same week, Quincy got a $400 dress for her friends Quincy and Era. Junior year, when I needed a laptop for college applications, Dad said I should use the library. 2 months later, they bought Quincy a MacBook Pro for her birthday because she's creative. I wasn't the daughter. I was the backup plan. The ATM. The responsible one who'd figured out. I opened my banking app. Looked at my checking account. $4,312. Savings I'd scraped together from every extra shift, every skipped meal, every time I said no to friends because I was working. Money I was saving for a car that didn't break down every other month. For an emergency fund. For a life. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips. Part of me, the part that had spent 23 years trying to earn love from people who saw me as a checkbook, wanted to send it. Wanted to prove I was valuable. Wanted them to finally say thank you and mean it. But something else was rising up inside me. Something that had been buried under years of being second best. It felt like anger. It felt like clarity. I typed 4 words. Transferring now. Check your account. Then I opened my payment app and sent exactly $1.00. In the notes section, I wrote, "For your daughter. The one you remembered."
I didn't sleep that night.
I sat on my couch staring at my phone, waiting for the explosion. It came at 7 a.m. 18 missed calls. 43 texts. Voicemails that made my mailbox full. I didn't open any of them. Instead, I got in my car and drove to the hardware store. The locksmith came at noon. Nice guy named Gus who didn't ask questions when I said I needed all my locks changed immediately. He installed deadbolts, new doorknobs, everything. "You got someone bothering you?" he asked while working on the back door. "Family," I said. He nodded like that explained everything. "Locks won't keep out the ones who think they own you," he said. But it's a start. When he left, I blocked my mother's number. Then my father's. Then Quincy's. Then my aunt, 2 uncles, and 3 cousins who'd already started texting me about disrespecting the family. Each block felt like setting down a weight I'd been carrying for years. My shoulders actually felt lighter. I ordered pizza, ate it on the floor, watched trashy TV. For the first time in my entire life, I had a Friday night with no guilt, no obligation, no text asking me to cover someone's bills or babysit or loan money I'd never see again. It felt like breathing after being underwater. Around 8 p.m., I started going through old photos on my phone. Birthday parties where I was in the background while Quincy posed center frame. Family dinners where I set the table and did dishes while she got to just be young. Christmas mornings where her pile of gifts looked like a department store while mine was practical. Socks. A planner. Gift cards to the grocery store. I wasn't mourning what I lost. I was mourning what I never had. My eyes were getting heavy when I heard it. Heavy footfalls on my front steps. Then pounding. Hard enough to rattle the frame. Police. Open the door. My blood turned to ice. I looked through the peephole with my heart in my throat. 2 uniformed officers, just like I said. Real badges. Real guns. Real problem. I opened the door because what else do you do when cops show up at 11 p.m.? Bridget Winters, the tall one asked. That's me. We received a wellness check request from your mother, Patricia Winters. She says you've been sending disturbing messages, maybe mentally unstable, and she believes you've stolen valuable family heirlooms. He said it all in this rehearsed way, like he'd done this 100 times. She's worried about your safety. The shorter officer was younger, watching me with these careful eyes. Have you been in contact with your mother recently? She texted me 3 days ago asking for $21,000, I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. I haven't stolen anything. I changed the locks on my own apartment because I'm an adult who pays her own rent. Can we come in? The tall one asked. I stepped aside. They walked through my tiny one-bedroom like they were expecting to find evidence of a crime. I grabbed my phone and pulled up my messages. Handed it to the shorter officer. Here. Read the whole conversation. He scrolled. His expression shifted from neutral to something else. Something like recognition. He showed his partner. They both read in silence while I stood there in my pajamas feeling like I was on trial for the crime of having boundaries. Ma'am, the taller officer finally said, do you have any family heirlooms here? Jewelry, documents, anything that belongs to your parents? No. I walked to my closet and pulled out a box. Inside were my graduation photos, the ones I took myself because nobody else was there. My diploma. My nursing license that just came in the mail. This is what I have. My stuff. That I earned. The younger officer's jaw was tight. He looked at his partner. We're documenting everything. The taller one cut him off. He turned to me. Your mother also mentioned you made threatening statements. Did you? I sent her $1 as a response to her demand for $21,000. That's it. They asked me to show them my bank records. I did. Showed them every transaction, every payment to my parents over the last 4 years. Rent they needed help with. Car repairs. Quincy's school fees. $15,000 minimum. Gone. Never paid back. Never even acknowledged. The shorter officer closed his notepad. Looked at me like he was seeing his own daughter. Ma'am, he said carefully, do you want to press charges for filing a false report? I looked at that officer and something inside me just broke open. Not in a bad way. In the way a dam breaks when it's been holding back too much for too long. No, I said. I don't want to press charges. The taller cop nodded slowly. We're still documenting this visit. If she calls again with false claims, there will be consequences. He handed me a card. You need anything, you call us directly. When they left, I locked my new deadbolt and slid down against the door. That's when I finally let myself fall apart. Not pretty crying. The ugly kind. The kind where you can't breathe and your whole body shakes and sounds come out that don't even seem human. I cried for the little girl who set the table every night and never got a thank you. For the teenager who worked weekends while her sister went to the mall. For the college student who ate crackers for dinner so she could send money home. For the graduate who walked across that stage alone. But somewhere in all that crying, something else happened. I felt lighter. Like I'd been carrying rocks in my pockets my whole life and finally emptied them out. My phone was face down on the coffee table. I'd turned off notifications, but I could see the screen lighting up every few minutes. More calls. More texts. I didn't need to read them to know what they said. How dare you? You're selfish. Family takes care of family. We raised you better than this. Except they didn't raise me. I raised myself. While they raised Quincy to believe the world owed her everything. I made tea. Took a shower. Put on clean clothes. It was 1 a.m, but I felt wide awake. I opened my laptop and typed something I'd been avoiding for years. Narcissistic family dynamics. 3 hours later, I was still reading. Every article felt like someone had written my life story. The golden child and the scapegoat. The invisible labor. The financial exploitation. The weaponized guilt. It even had a name, parentification. When kids become parents to their own parents. My phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. But something made me look. Voicemail from Quincy. Against my better judgment, I pressed play. You ruined everything. Her voice was shrill, entitled, so familiar it made my teeth hurt. The venue canceled because we couldn't pay the deposit. Mom's crying. Dad won't talk to anyone. My friends are asking why I have to postpone and I look like an idiot. This was supposed to be MY Day, and she took a breath, and here it came. Mom said you'd cave like always. She said you're too desperate for approval to actually say no. But I guess you finally grew a spine. Congrats, Bridget. You got what you wanted. You're officially dead to this family. The message ended. I sat there staring at my phone. And then I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A breaking free laugh. Because she'd said it. The quiet part out loud. Mom knew I'd cave. They all knew. This wasn't love. This was strategy. I was Googling therapists in my area when someone knocked on my door. Soft this time. Hesitant. I checked the peephole and my stomach dropped. Dad. Standing there alone. Looking older than I'd ever seen him. I almost didn't open it. My hand was on the deadbolt for a full 30 seconds before I finally turned it. Dad stood on my porch in jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt, no coat even though it was 40 degrees out. His eyes were red. "I'm not here to ask for money," he said before I could speak. "I'm not here to guilt you. Can I come in?" 5 minutes. Every instinct screamed no. But he looked so broken I couldn't help myself. I stepped aside. He sat on my couch like it might collapse under him. Wouldn't look at me. Just stared at his hands. "I wanted to come to your graduation," he said quietly. I had it on my calendar. Took the day off work. I was getting dressed that morning and your mother, his voice cracked. She said if I went, she'd file for divorce. Said I had to choose. Her and Quincy or you. The air left my lungs. "I chose wrong," he continued. "I've been choosing wrong for 23 years. I let her turn Quincy into a monster. I let her treat you like you weren't even our kid. And I told myself it was easier to keep the peace than to fight back." He finally looked at me. Tears on his face. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know you were right to walk away." I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Set it on my coffee table. "I've been hiding this for 3 months. Since before graduation. I knew your mother would take it if she found it." He stood up. "I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to be your dad when you needed one. But maybe you can be braver than I ever was." He walked to the door. Stopped. "For what it's worth, I watched your graduation online. The school live streamed it. I saw you walk across that stage." His voice broke again. "You looked so strong up there. So proud. You didn't need us." He opened the door. "You never did." Then he was gone. I sat frozen for 5 minutes before I picked up the envelope. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost tore it. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a note in Dad's handwriting. "I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough. Be braver than me. This was supposed to be your graduation gift. Use it for something that makes you happy. You've spent enough years making everyone else happy. Love, Dad." I held that note and cried harder than I did when the cops left. Because it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. It was seeing me. Finally. My phone buzzed. Email notification. I almost ignored it, but the subject line stopped me cold. Estate of Lorraine Winters. Beneficiary notification. Grandma Lorraine. Dad's mom. She died 6 months ago, and I didn't even get to go to the funeral because I was working a double shift, and Mom said, "Don't bother, it's family only." My hands shook as I opened it. The email was from a law office downtown. Formal language. Legal terms. But the core message was clear. Grandma Lorraine had left me as the primary beneficiary of her estate. Not my parents. Not Quincy. Me. There was a number to call. I checked the time. 2:30 a.m. I'd have to wait until morning. I spent the rest of the night reading the email over and over, looking for the catch. There had to be a catch. At 9 a.m. sharp, I called. A paralegal named Wanda answered. "Oh, honey, we've been trying to reach you for weeks," she said warmly. "Your grandmother was very specific in her instructions. She updated her 2 months before she passed." "Why me?" I asked. "She said you were the only one who called her. The only one who visited. The only one who didn't ask for money." Wanda paused. "She also said she watched your graduation on her iPad. From the hospital. She was so proud of you." The tears came back. Grandma had been there. In her own way. "The estate is valued at approximately $230,000, Wanda continued. "Your mother has already filed a contest, claiming undue influence and mental incompetence." But Mrs. Winters was very thorough. She included a video deposition explaining her reasoning. The judge watched it yesterday. The contest was denied. I actually gasped. $230,000. More money than I'd ever imagined having.
There's one condition, Wanda added.
She requested you donate 10% to a cause of your choosing. Something that helps people who've been overlooked. I thought about empty graduation seats. About kids who work 3 jobs and still get treated like they're not enough. I know exactly what to do with it, I said. The next 6 months were a blur. I quit my awful retail job and focused on nursing full-time. Used Dad's $5,000 for a professional certification course. Started therapy with a woman named Dr. Reeves who didn't let me get away with minimizing anything. You were financially and emotionally abused, she said during our 3rd session. Call it what it is. My phone kept lighting up with messages from Mom. From Quincy. From relatives I barely knew. Each one more desperate than the last. Apologies that weren't really apologies. We're family and we can work this out and you're being dramatic. I didn't respond to any of them. Silence was my superpower now. I used $23,000 of Grandma's money to establish a scholarship at my college. The Lorraine Winters Scholarship for overlooked students. Priority given to first-generation students working multiple jobs who'd never missed a class. Students whose families didn't show up for them. The applications broke my heart and put it back together.
So many kids like me.
So many empty chairs at their graduations. Quincy's social media became a tire fire. Public posts about fake family and ungrateful siblings. Photos of her scaled-down birthday party at a community center with captions like, "When your sister abandons you." I blocked her. Blocked everyone. Built the life with people who chose me instead of using me. I made friends at work. Real ones. Nurses who invited me to dinner and didn't expect me to pay. Who celebrated my wins and sat with me through the hard shifts. Who showed up. If you've made it this far in my story, please leave a comment below. Have you ever had to walk away from family? How did you rebuild? I read every single one, and your stories helped me feel less alone. I was at my favorite coffee shop one Sunday morning, editing photos on my laptop, when an email came through that made my blood run cold. Subject line. Legal notice. Patricia Winters versus Bridget Winters. Mom was suing me. The lawsuit claimed I'd manipulated Grandma Lorraine while she was sick. That I'd isolated her from family. That I'd coerced her into changing her will. Mom was demanding the full inheritance plus damages for emotional distress. I called Wanda immediately. She sighed like she'd been expecting this. Your grandmother anticipated this too, she said. That video deposition I mentioned? It's 40 minutes of her explaining exactly why she made her choice. She talks about every holiday you visited her in the nursing home. Every phone call. Every card you sent. Wanda paused. She also talks about the 3 years your mother didn't visit once. And the time Quincy asked her for money for a car within 5 minutes of arriving. The case was dismissed in 6 weeks. The judge called it frivolous and without merit. Ordered my mother to pay my legal fees, which Grandma's estate had already covered anyway. It was the legal equivalent of a door slam. But something happened during those 6 weeks. I stopped being angry. Anger requires caring what someone thinks. I just felt free. I got promoted at work. Started dating a physician assistant named Trevor, who thought it was cool that I put myself through school. Who wanted to meet my friends, not my family. Who didn't think my past made me damaged. On the 1-year anniversary of my graduation, I went back to the university. Sat in the same auditorium. Watched a new class of students walk across the stage to cheering families. And this time, when they called out a scholarship recipient, a 22-year-old named Nina, who was working night shifts to afford tuition, I was the one clapping.
Standing.
Cheering until my hands hurt. Nina found me afterward. Hugged me.
Cried.
You don't know what this means, she said. My family didn't even know I was graduating today. I know exactly what it means, I told her. And you're going to be amazing. I drove home that night and finally felt it.
Peace.
Not the kind that comes from getting an apology. I never got one. The kind that comes from realizing you don't need one. My phone had one unread text. From a number I didn't recognize. I almost deleted it. But curiosity won. Bridget, this is your Aunt Ramona. Your father's sister. We haven't spoken in years, but I heard what happened. I'm sorry I stayed silent. I saw how they treated you and I said nothing. If you're ever willing, I'd like to take you to lunch. No expectations. Just family who should have done better. My number is below. I stared at that text for 20 minutes. Part of me wanted to delete it. Block her. Keep the walls up. But another part, the part that had spent a year in therapy learning that healing isn't linear, wanted to believe people could change. I typed back, coffee first. Then we'll see. Her response came immediately. Fair enough. You pick the place. I'll be there. Maybe that's what growing up really means. Not cutting everyone off, but choosing carefully who gets access to the new version of you. It's been 2 years since graduation now. 2 years since I walked across that stage alone and thought it was the worst day of my life. Turns out it was the first day of my actual life. I'm sitting in the same coffee shop where I read Mom's lawsuit threat. Same corner table. Same vanilla latte. But everything else is different. My laptop screen shows the Scholarship Foundation website. We funded 12 students this year. 12 kids who won't have to choose between textbooks and groceries. Who'll walk across stages knowing someone sees them. Aunt Ramona and I meet monthly now. She's not trying to fix anything. Just showing up. Listening. She tells me stories about Dad as a kid, how he was brave once, before Mom wore him down. It doesn't excuse anything. But it helps me understand. Dad sends cards sometimes. Never asking for anything. Just saying he's proud. He's still with Mom. I think he always will be. That's his choice. But he's not my responsibility anymore. I haven't spoken to Mom or Quincy. I heard through Ramona that Quincy's engaged now to a guy whose family has money. Mom's planning a wedding that'll probably cost more than my yearly salary. They didn't invite me. I wouldn't have gone anyway. Trevor and I moved in together last month. He knows everything about my family. Sometimes I catch him looking at me like I'm fragile. But I'm not fragile. I'm steel that got forged in fire. Last week, a woman came through my ER. Car accident. Minor injuries. But while I was checking her vitals, she started crying. I'm supposed to be at my daughter's recital right now, she said. But I had to work a double shift. I'm missing everything. I held her hand. Told her about my graduation. About empty seats and full hearts. Your daughter will remember you tried, I said. That matters more than you know. She squeezed my hand. How'd you turn out okay? I thought about that question. About Dad's check and Grandma's will and Dr. Reeves asking hard questions and Trevor making coffee every morning and Nina sending me updates about nursing school and 12 strangers getting scholarships and Aunt Ramona showing up even when it was uncomfortable. I learned that showing up for myself was the only attendance that really mattered, I said. She smiled through tears. I'm going to remember that. After my shift, I drove past my old apartment. The one with the locks I changed. Someone else lives there now. I wonder if they know that's where I became myself. My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer. But something tells me to pick up. Is this Bridget Winters? A young voice. Nervous. Yes. My name is Cameron. I got the Lorraine Winters Scholarship this year. I wanted to thank you. I've been working at a gas station since I was 16. My parents said college was a waste. But I'm here. Because of you. Because someone finally saw me. My eyes burn. You got yourself here, Cameron. You did the work. Yeah, but you made it possible. A pause. I'm graduating next month. Will you come? I don't hesitate. I'll be in the front row. When I hang up, I'm crying again. But this time it's different. These aren't tears for what I lost. They're tears for what I built. I think about that girl in the cap and gown 2 years ago. Walking across the stage to silence. How she thought she was alone. How wrong she was. She had herself. And sometimes, that's the only family you need. The rest? The rest you build. One choice at a time. One boundary at a time. One person who shows up at a time. I open my notes app and type something Dr. Reeves suggested months ago. Today I chose myself by. It's a running list. Tiny rebellions that built a revolution. Changed the locks. Sent the dollar. Said no. Went to therapy. Applied for the promotion. Let Trevor in. Showed up for Cameron. Tomorrow I'll add more. Next month. Next year. Because the story isn't over. It's just beginning. And this time, I'm writing it myself. Thank you so much for watching my story. If it resonated with you, please share your experiences in the comments below. Your stories inspire others who feel invisible. And please subscribe and turn on notifications. We have more real stories about love, loss, family, and finding yourself coming soon. You never know whose life your comment might change. Until next time, remember, the people who matter will show up. And if they don't, you show up for yourself.